Hi, I'm Christian with 30 Tech, and today we'll go over on how to replace your float switch on Matilda. So to start off, we want to have the unit unplugged from power. So either unplug it from the wall or turn the breaker off that the unit is connected to. Second thing, we'll just want to take all the water out of the unit. So back here, we have our drain plunger. Just pull up on it and let it drain. So reasons why you might need to replace the float switch would be you have really hard water or dirty water that is causing the float to get stuck or just malfunction. So your float switch will come as this piece right here. You'll have a gasket and a new nut for it. So while we have the unit draining, we can just begin by taking this cover off, and all it holds it is 2 screws. We can loosen those up. Set those aside, and to take this cover off, we just want to pull up from the back first, and then go to the front, pull up. You might have to do these a few times, but it will come off. Next thing, we'll just want to take the lid off. It'll make it easier once we get to the float switch. And your float switch will be this at the front. It'll have the white nut. So first thing we want to do is unplug it, and we just want to pull up on it carefully and then run it back through. And then we'll have the nut that should be hand tight. In case it's not, you may also use a 15mm wrench to loosen that up. And then once we start loosening the nut, we want to hold the float switch from the bottom or from this piece, just so when you're twisting this, this float switch isn't spinning with it. So we want to hold it from the bottom and then start loosening up the nut. Now we can run the nut out and then pull the float switch out from the bottom. So for the new float switch, it'll be easier to use a piece of wire with a hook at the end. That way we can run the float switch up and through the hole up here. And then all you need to do is hook it from the middle of the plug, just so it holds it in place while we fish it through. We'll start from the top and just run the wire through. Hook the float switch from the bottom. And then just run her up. Wire will come out. We can get rid of the piece of wire, hold the float switch in place, and then put the nut back on and tighten it back up. Should be just hand tight while holding the bottom of the float switch at the same time. After that's tight, we can just get the wire, run it under the bridge support. The plug only goes on one way onto the board, so just make note of that. Once we plug that in, you should hear it click, and then the float switch is installed. So now we can test to see if the float switch is functioning properly. So we want to plug it back into power and have the water valve switched on. So now it'll start up, and then it should start filling as soon as it goes through its whole boot up cycle. And then the way to test the float switch, we'll just want to push up on the switch itself, and then it should stop the flow of water within 5 to 10 seconds. So water stopped flowing, so that means our float switch is working properly. We can let go of that and assemble the unit back to how it was. So we can start by putting the lid back on, and then putting our top cover back on. We also want to make sure that the drain plunger is aligned to the hole in the back, or else it won't go on there. But if it's aligned right, you should be able to just push the lid back on and put the 2 screws back and Matilda should be working properly again.